The United States of America has a democratic government in the form of a federal constitutional republic. What that means is that the powers of government are divided between the federal or national government and the individual state governments, which all have to follow the U.S. Constitution. The Constitution defines a system of separation of powers, where each level of government has more than one branch with special powers over the other branches, which creates a system of checks and balances across the government. The three branches of the federal government, legislative, executive, and judicial, were formed to balance its power. Each branch has ways to keep the other branches in line, leading to checks and balances. This makes it near impossible for any single person or group to take control of the entire country, which, as history has shown, can lead to disastrous consequences. Think of the system as a game of rock, paper, scissors. Each branch has something to hold over another, thus keeping any one branch from taking over. Moving on to the actual operation of the government, each of the three branches has a different function and is organized in a different way. The legislative branch is responsible for creating laws, or legislation. It's composed of Congress, a body of elected officials from all over the country, and is divided into two groups, the House of Representatives and the Senate. The House of Representatives has a total of 435 seats, and each state is allocated House seats proportionally based on their respective populations. This means California, a state with a population of nearly 40 million, has 53 seats in the House of Representatives, while Wyoming, with barely 500,000 people, has just one seat. While the House has proportional representation, just 2 members of the Senate are elected from every state, no matter what the state's population is. 2 senators for each of 50 states means a total of 100 seats in the Senate. The reason for having 2 bodies of Congress is so that every state will be able to have an active role in the process of making laws. For a law to be passed, it has to be voted for by a majority in each of the 2 chambers, which ensures states with very few representatives in the House can still affect the outcome in the Senate. The executive branch of the U.S. government is the branch that enforces or carries out laws. The head of this branch is the President of the United States, who is elected every 4 years for a maximum of 2 terms in a nationwide election. Under the President is the Vice President and the various cabinet departments. Each department, which is led by a secretary, has a specific responsibility. The Department of Defense, for example, is in charge of the military, while the Department of Education deals with schools and the educational system. Every cabinet secretary serves under the President, but has to be confirmed by a majority vote in the Senate. Speaking of Congress, the President has something called veto power over laws that Congress passes. This means the President can refuse to sign a piece of legislation, which serves as a check on congressional power. Congress can, however, override a presidential veto with a 2/3 vote in each chamber. The President can also be impeached or removed from office by Congress, which serves as a check on the executive branch. Moving on, the judicial branch is responsible for interpreting laws. This means the judicial branch decides whether laws are constitutional or not, and it settles criminal cases and lawsuits based on how the law is applied. It consists of the court system, which, in the federal government, is headed by the highest court of the land, the Supreme Court of the United States. The Supreme Court is led by the Chief Justice of the United States, who is the head of the judicial branch, and has 8 associate justices. Below the Supreme Court are the Court of Appeals and district courts, which are lower courts in the federal judiciary. Each state also has its own court system, which interprets state laws, and can be appealed to the federal level. The judicial branch also has several checks on it from the other branches. Federal judges are appointed by the President to serve a life term after being confirmed by the Senate. They, like all public officials, can be impeached and removed from office by Congress. Finally, while the Supreme Court has the power to overturn laws that are against the Constitution, Congress or the states can amend or change the Constitution to make those laws legal again. By knowing about these 3 branches of government as defined in the U.S. Constitution, American citizens can be more informed about how the government system works. While there's much more to the government and the various governmental processes, This is a basic outline of the separation of powers in the federal government of the United States.